August 2nd, 2022, the Alpine Formula 1 team makes a big, flashy announcement on Twitter. They've secured their new star driver for the next season, a brilliant young talent named Oscar Piastri. Contract signed, press release sent, job done. There was just one tiny, insignificant problem. Nobody had actually told Oscar Piastri. 2 hours later, Piastri posts his own tweet, a brutal 9-word masterclass in public humiliation. I will not be driving for Alpine next year. It was the corporate equivalent of proposing to your girlfriend in a crowded stadium, only for her to grab the microphone and announce she's been dating your brother for 6 months. So how does a billion-dollar F1 team get publicly dumped by its own driver? Well, that wasn't an accident. It was just another Tuesday at motorsport's most expensive dumpster fire. To understand the comedy, you first have to understand the ambition. Back in 2016, the French car giant Renault bought the team we now know as Alpine. At the time, it was called Lotus, and it was in financial ruins, with debts of almost £100 million. Renault famously got the team for a token payment of just £1. A bargain, right? Well, they also had to take on all the debt. The first few years were rough. They were firmly stuck in the midfield of Formula 1, a place so mediocre it was basically the mid-version of Sydney Sweeney. But they were a proper works team with a big budget and their own engine. The expectation was eventually they'd get it right. Then in 2021, a rebrand. Renault F1 became Alpine F1, a move to promote their niche sports car brand. This wasn't just a new coat of blue paint. This was a statement of intent. The new CEO, a man named Laurent Rossi, came out swinging. He unveiled El Plan, or the plan, a glorious 100-race strategy to reach the pinnacle of Formula 1. It sounded impressive. It sounded professional. It sounded like every corporate wank presentation you've ever fallen asleep to. They signed Fernando Alonso, a 2-time world champion and certified political ninja, to lead the charge.
Ninja, the tea party's over.
They had a garage full of French flags and a mission statement full of buzzwords. The misconception was that this was a serious racing team, finally getting its act together after years of mediocrity. The reality? It was the pilot episode for the Office of Motorsport. Here's the hot take. Alpine F1 isn't a racing team. It's an entertainment product, a content machine that produces drama, not results, and generally serve as a cautionary tale for the rest of the paddock. And honestly, it's brilliant at it. Forget Drive to Survive. The real drama is watching this team try to get through a single season without accidentally setting itself on fire. They have all the classic ingredients of a great reality show. Arrogant managers who think they know everything. Bitter rivalries because there are too many main characters and too much testosterone. A constant stream of dramatic firings and surprise exits. And a special guest star, so controversial, he'd been literally banned from the sport before. They don't build cars, they build narrative arcs, as good as your local authorized service shop, as an acronym. They don't chase championships, they chase chaos. And the first season of this show, it was a masterpiece of self-sabotage. Every great show needs a pilot that gets people talking. Alpine's was the Oscar Piastri saga, a masterclass in how to fumble the bag so hard that it gives you a stomachache. As we saw, they announced him as their driver for 2023. How did they get it so catastrophically wrong? Basically, through sheer weapons-grade arrogance from their top brass, especially CEO Laurent Rossi. They had Piastri, their junior driver, who had won literally everything on his way up the ladder, sitting on the sidelines as a reserve. He was a generational talent, and they treated him like an intern they kept forgetting to give work to. They thought they held all the cards, assuming he'd just wait patiently for his turn, while they kept their aging star, Fernando Alonso, happy. Just ask McLaren how that went. Their contract with him was apparently so loose and full of missed deadlines, it was basically a pinky promise. When Alonso got tired of the corporate nonsense and suddenly announced he was leaving for Aston Martin, Alpine panicked. Their team principal at the time, Otmar Szafnauer, was famously on a boat in Greece and found out about his star driver leaving by reading it on the internet. You can't make this stuff up. In their panic, they rushed out the Piastri announcement without his consent, assuming he'd have no choice but to accept. They didn't realize that Piastri's manager, a tough Aussie ex-racer named Mark Webber, had seen the incompetence firsthand and had already been secretly negotiating a deal with their rival, McLaren. The whole thing went to the F1's contract board, which is basically Judge Judy for motorsport. Alpine got absolutely rinsed. The board ruled that their contract wasn't valid and Piastri was free to go to McLaren, who were probably laughing so hard they made a little tinkle. It was a public, humiliating and utterly unavoidable failure and made them look like amateur hour, a 10 out of 10 season premiere. No notes. What's a reality show without dramatic exits? At Alpine, firing people isn't just a management strategy, it's a hobby. Their leadership structure was a revolving door that spun so fast it could have powered the factory. Let's just run through the body count. Team principal Cyril Abiteboul, gone. His replacement, Marcin Bukowski, gone after a year. And then there's the legendary four-time world champion, Alain Prost. He was a senior advisor, a link to the team's championship-winning past. He was publicly pushed out. Later, he went to the press and was brutally honest, saying the new management, especially Rossi, was arrogant, inept, and thought they could run an F1 team from an ivory tower without respecting the people who actually did the work. He wasn't wrong. The chaos peaked midway through the 2023 Belgian Grand Prix weekend. In a move of staggering incompetence, they fired their team principal, Otmar Szafnauer, their sporting director, Alan Permain, a guy who'd been on the Enstone factory for 34 years, and their chief technical officer, all at once, in the middle of a race weekend. It wasn't a corporate restructuring, it was a public execution, a corporate bloodbath so brutal it would make a Game of Thrones character flinch. The show was clearing the house, making way for even more chaos. For the 2023 season, the producers cast a masterpiece of conflict. They signed two French drivers for their very French team, Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. There was just one tiny little problem. Ocon and Gasly famously, publicly hate each other. We're not talking a friendly rivalry, we're talking a deep-seated, bitter feud that goes all the way back to their childhood karting days when their families apparently fell out. Putting them in the same team was like casting two bitter exes as the leads in a romantic comedy and expecting it to go well. And it went about as well as you'd expect. They crashed into each other in Australia, wiping out a massive points haul for the team. They had tense moments in Miami. They crashed into each other again in Monaco in 2024. A move so boneheaded, the team bosses publicly threatened to bench Ocon. Ocon was eventually announced to be leaving at the end of the year. Instead of a French dream team, they had a full-blown civil war in their own garage, playing out live on global television every other Sunday. The drama was incredible. The racing results, not so much. By 2024, the show was getting a bit stale. The team was slow. The drivers hated each other. The narrative needed a shake-up. So what did the producers do? They brought in a special guest star, and not just anyone. They brought back Flavio Briatore. And if you don't know Flavio, he's a larger-than-life, controversial F1 legend. He's also the mastermind behind the single biggest cheating scandal in modern F1 history, Crashgate. Let's rewind to 2008. Flavio was running the Renault team. To help his star driver, Fernando Alonso, win the Singapore Grand Prix, he ordered his other driver, Nelson Piquet Jr., to deliberately crash his car into a wall. The crash brought out the safety car at the perfect moment for Alonso's strategy, and he won the race. It was a conspiracy so blatant and so cynical, he was banned from the sport indefinitely when it all came out a year later. Bringing him back in 2024 as an executive advisor was the F1 equivalent of a bank hiring a legendary, unapologetic bank robber to consult on their vault security. His official position was a joke. He wasn't an employee of Renault or Alpine. He was a consultant hired personally by the Renault Group CEO. He existed outside the corporate structure, a ghost in the machine with immense power. It was a pure, shameless rating stunt, a desperate, chaotic move from a show that was running out of ideas, and it worked perfectly. Everyone was talking about Alpine again for all the wrong reasons. So, there you have it. A beautiful, glorious, expensive dumpster fire. A team that managed to lose a generational talent because of a dodgy contract. A team that fires its most expensive leaders in the middle of a race weekend. A team that pairs two drivers who hate each other and then acts surprised when they crash into each other. A team whose brilliant solution to all of this is to bring back a convicted cheat. This is only the start of the story, and 2025 deserves its own series. Drop a like and a comment if you want to see that. But the final punchline, the ultimate admission of failure, is this. After a decade of pouring hundreds of millions into their own Renault engine program, they decided to just give up. For 2026, Alpine, a works team backed by one of the biggest car companies in the world, is ditching its own engine to become a customer of its rival, Mercedes. It's the equivalent of McDonald's announcing they're no longer making their own burgers. They'll be buying them from Burger King from now on. It's the final white flag of surrender. As a Formula One team, measured by things like wins, strategy, and basic competence, they are a complete and utter failure. But as a piece of high-stakes, billion-dollar entertainment, as a reality show about a dysfunctional workplace, honestly, I can't look away. It's a beautiful, glorious, expensive dumpster fire, and I cannot wait to see what fresh hell they unleash next season. If you like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. And to continue with the good times, check out this video right here.